Hi, everyone. My name is Nathan Wiens. I'm a physician assistant, and the reason I'm making this video today is to introduce myself. I'm going to be starting to see clients with Dr. Garrett Smith to help people through the vitamin A and Love Your Liver program, vitamin A detox and Love Your Liver program. So I'll be doing some of the consultations for the testing and consultation package. And the other thing that I think Garrett's mentioned a few times on some of his videos and the live streams and such is that we are working on some provider training to help those of you who are in the program or interested in the program and want to share it with others, teaching you how to do that. So I'm not going to get into that too much right now, but stay tuned. It's going to be good stuff. Anyway, so a little bit about myself. I am 53 years old. I live on a small homestead in just north of Spokane, Washington. I've been a physician assistant for 9 years now, 8 years now. Graduated from Mississippi College, just outside of Jackson, Mississippi, in December of 2013. I started in emergency medicine, worked in emergency medicine for about 18 months, and then transitioned over to family medicine, working with Kaiser Permanente in Washington State. And I did that for 5 years. And for the last 3 years, I've been working in a pain management clinic. So interventional pain management, steroid injections, also medication management. So I prescribe opioids to quite a few people with chronic pain. So I got a pretty broad basis in traditional Western medicine, which I think is a complement to Garrett's experience and knowledge of more of the standard alternative medicines. The thing I find quite interesting is that what he's doing now is, excuse me, goes against both of those. So I'm not going to have as much knowledge necessarily about a lot of the alternative things that I know people ask about in live streams or on the network, but I'm going to learn as much as I can. So if I don't know something in one of the consultations, I will tell you I don't know, and I'll find out and get back to you. Some other things about me. I grew up in Central California, which is why I don't have a Southern accent, if you're wondering. I went to Mississippi in 1990 to go to college. My mother and stepfather are both college professors, psychologists. So I graduated from the University of Southern Mississippi with a bachelor's degree in theater. Wanted to be an actor. And then I joined the Army, was on active duty for about 2 years, and then eventually joined the National Guard, went to Iraq. Sorry, I'm looking for it. There we go. That's what I want to share. So I was in Iraq in 2005. A couple of pictures of me. Was in an infantry unit, part of the Mississippi National Guard. So interesting to serve there, very hot. Not anything I'd want to do again, but I'm glad I did it. Started PA school in 2011 through 2013, and then graduated December of 2013. Let's see, I'm married, have a son and a daughter, both under 10 years old. So that takes a lot of my time. I'm still working full time. So when I start doing the consultations, it'll probably be weekends, Fridays, and Saturdays. I know some of you probably are looking forward to having some availability on Saturdays, and try to keep that up as long as I can. So I think I covered the introduction and my medical experience. So the way I came across Garrett's work is I was actually introduced through a mutual friend of ours. And that is Coach Noah Ravoy. I was talking to him a few months ago, and he mentioned that he had another friend, Garrett, who was working on vitamin A detox, and that he was really busy and he might could use some help. So signed up for the network, started looking at it, and like probably some of you, my initial reaction was, this can't be right. There's no way that this is correct, because if this is correct, then everything that I've learned, or most of the things that I've learned in PA school, in practice, and a lot of the things that I've done are wrong. And that was a pretty difficult idea to confront. But the deeper I got into the work, reading Grant Generou's book, and just digging in, going down the rabbit hole, I realized that, wow, this really is correct. And one of the other things that excited me was that this really put all the pieces together, all the sort of disconnected bits of information that I learned in school or had come across in practice, the way systems related, the way the disease process worked. This put it all into a single coherent whole. So I saw how everything fit together, and it made sense. It's elegant, it's beautiful. The body is a really amazing thing, which I've known my whole life, but to really finally understand how it all fits together, why it works the way it works, has been a joy. So I'm really excited to start helping others to find their way back to health. So I wanted to talk a little bit about not just my philosophy of treatment, but more about kind of the general philosophy of how the body works and how Garrett and I help people find their way back to health. So in traditional Western medicine that I studied when I was in PA school, what we were taught was that there are these bodily functions, or these mechanical functions that sometimes break down. And the best way to fix that is to first correctly identify what the problem is. So diagnosis was a big part of my training, how to diagnose correctly. And then once you've diagnosed it, then there are systems and protocols in place that tell you how to treat that. Typically involving medications. You give, if somebody's got high blood pressure, you've correctly diagnosed it, then you start with this medication. And if that doesn't work, then you add this medication. And then if their blood pressure still isn't in the normal range, then you add another, so on and so forth. If you diagnose somebody with a sinus infection, then you treat them with a specific antibiotic, or one of these antibiotics that work for that. So, but we didn't really talk too much about how the systems interact with each other. Sometimes we did, cardiovascular system, the heart and lungs working together, or the blood, and that kind of thing. So we talked a little bit about that, but not specifically how the whole system functions as a unit. And the underlying idea, or the functional idea that we operated on, was that the body gets broken down and it's our job to fix it. That the body can't function if we don't help it. If the body breaks down or a person gets sick, then if we don't intervene, they're going to get worse. So it was our job to fix the problems with the body. The body wasn't able to fix it itself. We needed to help, or we needed to fix it for it. Now, if that sounds like I am disparaging all aspects of traditional Western allopathic medicine, that's not true. There are some things that Western medicine does extremely well, particularly in terms of treating trauma. So if you've got a broken leg or a dislocated shoulder, or you got in a car accident, or you got shot or stabbed, the one place you want to be is in an emergency room with a competent crew of doctors and providers and nurses who can fix those things, who can stop that bleeding, who can get your heart working again, who can fix that broken bone, or who can set that broken bone so it can heal itself. So there are things that Western medicine does really well. Acute care, particularly trauma care, is something that it does extremely well. And I don't think anybody is going to argue that that's not the case. Unfortunately, the things that traditional Western medicine and even traditional alternative medicine don't do very well is treat chronic illnesses, treat chronic conditions. And that's what we do here. That's what, Anthony Mawson, and originally Anthony Mawson, and then Grant Genereux discovered, was that most of these problems are toxicity issues. And then, Garrett's, of course, built on that and has developed a comprehensive approach to treating that. So being able to be part of that, being able to join in with that, is something that I find very exciting. So the fundamental principle that we operate from, that that Garrett operates from, that I operate from, is that the body is wise. The body knows what it needs, and the body does the best it can to maintain optimal health with what we give it, with what we do to our bodies, and what the environment does to our bodies. So our goal, our job, is to help the body do what it does best, which is maintain optimal health. Now, this is challenging because we live in an ever increasingly toxic environment. The environment that we live in, the food that we eat, what we watch on TV, what we see on social media, seems like it's becoming more and more toxic all the time. And certainly in terms of food, that seems to be the case. The food doesn't have the amount of nutrients that it used to. So unfortunately, we have to supplement those, which is part of what the testing and consultation program is about, is to figure out where the deficiencies are, where the excesses are, and help to fix those things. But the only thing that we're doing is providing, one, we're taking away the toxins that we're putting in so that the body can move from dealing with, from intoxing, from taking in a bunch of toxins, to actually starting to get rid of some of those toxins, detoxing. So the most important thing we can do is to acknowledge that we can't fix the body. All we can do is provide it with the conditions so that it can fix itself. And that's an attitude that I've had pretty much all my life. I knew intuitively, even as a little kid, that was the case, but I've had a lot of training that says otherwise. So being able to finally put that into practice and live it, not just for myself, but to help others live it as well, is very exciting. All right. So having said that, I want to go through my test results. I tested back in May and started the program, I think, in April, end of March or beginning of April, which is when I got introduced to Garrett. So I've only been on the program a few months. I really enjoyed watching Garrett's recent video about his test results, his blood testing and hair testing results. But obviously he's much further along. He's almost 4 years in now. So seeing the progression and seeing where he's gotten in that time is really cool and very encouraging for me. But I thought that those of you who are just starting off like I am would like to see the process from the beginning. So I don't think he ever made a video kind of where he started. So this is an opportunity for those of you who are new, or even those of you who have been here a long time and kind of want to see what that looks like, and from somebody else's perspective, not just your own. I want to show you where my test results are, what I'm starting with, and then as I go forward, then I'll continue to post. I'll post additional videos that show my progress. So where I'm starting from, I don't have a lot of symptoms. I'm generally pretty healthy. One of my main problems is I'm overweight. I'm 6 feet tall and I'm 245 pounds as of this morning. Today is July 10th, 2022. So I've been doing the diet, maybe 50 to 60%. I haven't been as strict as I would like to be, and that's something that I'm working on. One thing that I'm noticing is that my body is becoming more sensitive when I eat crap. So it's gotten better about telling me, yeah, you don't want to be eating that. So that's one of my challenges is finding a way to lose weight. I know that several people and lots of people in the network have asked about that, can this vitamin A detox and Love Your Liver program be used for weight loss? How does that work? Garrett's talked a little bit about the Noom program, which is something I may end up looking into. Like a lot of you, I started doing the low carb thing, never went full carnivore, but and luckily never got into the nose to tail, eating a bunch of liver, that kind of stuff. So I dodged that bullet. But I lost 50 pounds on keto, and then now I've gained about 20 of it back over the last about 4 years. So that's something that I'm going to explore, something I'm going to get into, and hopefully we can figure out some answers to those of you who are looking to lose weight in addition to detoxing. A little bit more comprehensive answer than you just got to kind of wait until your body's ready to get rid of that fat. That may be the answer. I don't know, but we'll see. Not much in the way of symptoms. I got a little bit of biceps tendonitis in my right shoulder. I got some bilateral knee pain. Part of that is, I was in the infantry for a long time. I'm a martial artist, so that contributes, and and obviously I'm carrying more weight. But as you'll see in my test, there's also another aspect of that. So we'll get into that shortly. So that's pretty much where I'm starting from. At the end of the video, I'll talk about what I'm doing right now, go into my diet just a little bit. Again, I'm different from everybody else, so don't take what I'm doing as a blueprint for what you're doing, because it may not work for you. So, all right, so let's go back to. All right. All right. So this is my labs tracker. Let me, oops. Oh, come on. Okay, so here's my actual blood test. Pump this up a little bit. As you can see, my vitamin A is it's actually above their normal range, not just our normal range. So 62.5. When I was talking to Garrett about this, he said that is one of the higher ones that he's seen. I will say I'm kind of the classic over presentation. For those of you who know over types versus under types, I'm definitely a classical over type. Obviously, I'm overweight. I have acid reflux that presents occasionally, particularly when I eat crappy food. And this is an example of the fact that I've got extrahepatic cholestasis, basically, you know, the backing up of the bile into my stomach, causing that. So the bile's flowing, it's just not going to all the right places. And this is an example of that, 62.5. So I got a long way to go in terms of getting under 20. It's going to take some time. So copper 94. It's in their normal range, but it's high for our range. And I'll go to the labs tracker in a second and show you that. My zinc is low. Want it somewhere between 100 and 135. So this is the big one, the ferritin. As you can see, it's 877. I think high for us is, or the top of the range for us, or for Garrett, is about 75, or 40 to 50, I think. Anyway, it's, again, this is one of the higher numbers that Garrett's seen. And I'd mentioned my bilateral knee pain in both knees. High iron tends to present in joint pain, typically on both sides, bilateral. So this is definitely one of the reasons why my knees hurt, is that I have a lot of excess iron. So, all right, it's labs tracker. Like I said, that's high. Copper should be 75 to 90. It's 94. I think Garrett is finally coming to the point where he's willing to say in public that copper is pretty much a straight out toxin, that it doesn't have any purpose. I don't know if he's really there yet, or we're really there yet. But it appears that lower is better on the copper. So that's something I'm going to need to work on. My zinc is low. And actually, I had taken a zinc supplement, one of the Keystone Minerals, the night before. So this is actually higher than probably it would normally be. So I've been working with zinc, and like I said at the end of the video, I'll talk about exactly what I'm doing at this point. So ferritin, obviously very, very high. I have donated blood at the beginning of June. I'll do that again beginning of August, and probably beginning of October, and then test maybe in November again, do another blood test and hair test in November, just to see how that comes down. You know, Garrett's experience has been that it's usually about 40 points per blood donation. We'll see if that's accurate in my case. All right, so here, there we go. All right, so my hair test. As you can see, the magnesium is higher than the calcium. Scroll down here to the calcium magnesium ratio. 4.47, which is a pretty good place. Prior to the hair test, and since then I've been pretty good about doing the mag Cahal, the new formulation, which I really like. I did take one magnesium bath prior to the hair test. I think I did. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. We'll see next time if that's the case, but looks like a pretty good ratio. My calcium is in a pretty decent range. 38 wants it under 40, or wants it about 40. So no indication of contamination, hard water. We're on a well, so I'm not sure. Sodium, not bad. My potassium's quite low. So I'm working on that, taking potassium supplements. I think I may start with 50-50 salts as well. But copper's still a little bit high. Wants it under 2, if I remember correctly, and optimally more like 1, or 0.5 to 1, I think. So zinc is low. 17 needs to be I think 18 to 22, and phosphorus is also low, which means that my my stored zinc is also low. So zinc is one of the things I've been focusing on. Iron doesn't matter. Manganese, less of an issue. Selenium is in a pretty decent range. It's in a normal range, 0.8. Molybdenum is also kind of on the low side of the normal range. Notice my uranium is elevated. That's probably from the water, most likely from the water. Up here in Northeast Washington, there's a lot of history of mining, which typically is what you see, and I know there's issues with that. Arsenic's probably the water as well. I don't eat a whole lot of rice. Beryllium's not bad. Mercury's pretty low. I don't really eat fish or shellfish. Did have sushi about 8 months ago, but lead's good, aluminum's good. So in terms of toxic metals, not too bad. The other things, the strontium's matches up with the calcium, so that's a pretty good indication that the calcium's fairly accurate. So yeah, it's apparently my calcium is looking pretty good. So that's basically it. The ratios, the calcium magnesium ratio is really the only one that we worry about, and it's in a pretty good range. We'll see if that's actually accurate or not. Like I said, I've been pretty good about doing the alcohol almost every day. All right, so that's basically that. Let's see. Remember all of those. All right, I want to try to make this video relatively short. I don't want to bore you too much. This is basically just sort of an introduction. All right, so let me talk about where I'm at right now, my current regimen. So in terms of diet, I'm trying to stick as closely as I can with the cowboy diet approach. So basically beef and beans. Pretty easy for me because like a lot of men, I love beef. It's always been my preferred meat of choice. I can eat it every day and be quite happy about that. It doesn't have any bad effects. I usually feel pretty good when I eat it, so that's a good indication that it fits well with my body chemistry and all the stuff that I've done. Um, beans I'm able to tolerate pretty well. I haven't really had any issues. A little bit of gas, but that's kind of to be expected. I'm only eating about 1 can of beans a day. Um, when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do in terms of eating, typically I'll eat a usually about a 12-ounce hamburger patty for lunch with a can of black beans, organic black beans. And then for dinner, I'll do another 12-ounce hamburger patty or a steak, and usually a can of green beans. So a little bit lighter on the sorry, word went out of my head and I apologize for that. Fiber. So soluble fiber, not quite as much soluble fiber. I'm going to experiment with trying to go up to 2 cans of beans, increase my fiber a little bit. Good news is I'm pooping quite well, which I know is weird for a lot of people, but something we talk about a lot. I'm pooping a couple of times a day. No uncomfortably loose stools, no really hard stools. So I'm in the Goldilocks range, I think, in terms of my poop. It's just right. So basically about 35 grams of soluble fiber a day, which is what's about 1 can of black beans. As I said, I may increase that a little bit just to see how it goes. I'm experimenting a bit with grains and so forth. I've found in the past that I tended to not do as well with grains. Oatmeal, when I eat it, just doesn't feel quite right. Although oatmeal cookies are great. I love them. So maybe some other options there. I don't eat a lot of fruit, an occasional apple or banana, but I'm sticking pretty closely with the cowboy approach, which seems to work okay for me. As things go on, we'll see, one, if I can be a little more compliant. I'm probably only 50 or 60% compliant at this point. Otherwise, I'm eating kind of crap. And, I love cheese and that's been a little hard to give up. And actually, I'm noticing that I'm developing more of a sweet tooth. I'm not sure exactly what's up with that, but something I'm going to explore in a little more detail later. Or something I'm going to experiment with myself and see what's going on with that. I don't know if it's just that I'm not getting enough carbs, or now that I am getting more carbs than I was before, if that's spurring me to want more. I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's pretty much diet. Again, the disclaimer that what I'm telling you I'm doing, do not take this as, oh, this is what I need to do. Everybody's different. We all have different genetics and we all have different experiences. We're all starting in different places in terms of health. We all have different adverse things that have happened to us in the past that have affected our liver damage of different types. So what works for one person is not going to work for another person. So you have to figure out what works for you. I love Garrett's saying, genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger. Another way to look at that is genetics versus epigenetics. Epigenetics being environment, namely what happens to you and what you do to yourself. Either turns genes on or off. So just because you are genetically predisposed to something doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be a problem if you act in the proper way. So you have control over what happens. Something else I wanted to just throw in there, a little side note. Thank you. All right. So exercise. I'm a longtime martial artist. I'm currently studying American Kempo Karate at a school near my house. I'm training between 3 and 5 hours a week right now between classes and training on my own. In terms of other exercise that I do, about 3 days a week now. I was doing it more often, but I've changed a little bit. I'm doing a kettlebell routine. It's called Simple and Sinister, which sounds a little funky. It's something created by a guy named Pavel Tsatsouline. Russian guy's kind of the father of kettlebell and kettlebells in the U.S. His great stuff, really interesting guy. If you want to find more about him, he's got a great podcast on. He did a podcast with Joe Rogan, which is really informative. He's got a bunch of books out there as well. But Simple and Sinister is sort of his latest approach. It's only 2 exercises. It's just kettlebell swings and Turkish get-ups. So it's a really easy program. It only takes about half an hour, but it's a full body workout, and I really like it because it's not hard on my joints, pretty easy to deal with. And unlike Garrett, I'm not a gym rat. I never have been. So getting myself to exercise can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. And this is a program that's pretty easy for me to stick to. So it's the reason I'm still doing it. I've tried some other approaches, body weight exercises and that kind of stuff, but for some reason the kettlebells just seem to do better for me. So again, don't take that as, okay, I need to do kettlebells, but for whatever reason, the combination of the martial arts training with the kettlebells seems to work pretty well for me. So supplements. I'm currently taking about 4 to 6 potassium gluconate, 99 milligram capsules per day, just as a way to get some more potassium. Obviously, the beans have a lot of potassium, but again, as you saw, my potassium was very, very low. It was a 1. So it's something that I really need to focus on. Like I said, I think I'm going to make some 50-50 salt and start using that more to try to get some more potassium into my system, as well as maybe increasing my bean intake, which will also help with increased soluble fiber. So went through, if you're on the network, I'm sure you went through the probiotic test, whether you are fermentive or putrefactive. Like a lot of men, I'm putrefactive, discovered. So I'm taking 2 capsules of bifidobacterium a day. I started with 1 and didn't have any problems with it, so I'm taking 2, and that seems to be doing pretty well. I don't have huge gas problems and that kind of stuff, so I'm not infringing on my coworkers' rights to have clean air. So let's see. I do the Magcahol. I've actually got one of the little trigger sprayers, so it's more than just a little push pump sprayer, and I do about 20 sprays a day, primarily on my chest and abdomen, a little bit on my low back, and then some on my shoulders and knees. I'll take a magnesium bath occasionally with some potassium chloride in there as well, but that's maybe only a couple of times a month. My primary magnesium supply is from the Magcahol, which is the new formulation, the half water, half alcohol, with the potassium added. So the potassium chloride added to that. I am taking 2 of the Keystone Minerals a day. So that's what, 300 micrograms of the molybdenum, 300 micrograms of the selenium. Garrett and I talked about it and agreed that would be appropriate, even though my numbers are kind of near sort of on the low end of the normal range. But I'm a bigger guy, and when I started taking the additional molybdenum, I found that it helped my sleep. So I'm continuing to do that. I I'm taking 90 milligrams of zinc a day. So the two, obviously the two keystone minerals, which are 30 each. So that's 60 plus an additional 30 milligrams zinc. So I'm getting close to 100, and I may eventually, after the next test, we'll see how my zinc is. If it's still low, I may bump it up just a little bit, even though obviously 100 is kind of the cutoff. Anything above that, you're running the risk of zinc overdose, or but I don't think I'm ever going to get there. My body's moving pretty quickly, so I think I'm going to need more zinc than not. And I'm also taking 1 lactoferrin a day. I may bump it up to 2. When I went and visited Garrett a couple of weeks ago, and we finally met for the first time in person, we talked about that a little bit, and he said it'd probably be okay to go ahead and, if I'm doing okay on 1, I'll probably do okay on 2. So that's pretty much it. I'm not sure if this is going on YouTube or just on the network or both. So I'm not sure I want to get into my intake of the mild oxidizer that must not be named. I can always talk about that more on the network, or maybe if I end up doing an inner circle one time, we can talk about that more if anybody's interested. But I am using it for those of you who know what I'm talking about. Use it daily, and it seems to be helping. So that's pretty much it. I think I've covered everything. I just want to close by saying that I am really excited to be working with Garrett, to be helping people learn about this process and help them find their way back to actual health. This is what I've been looking for my entire career, is the underlying cause of these terrible, debilitating illnesses. And having found that, and having the opportunity to help people actually get well, not just cover up their symptoms or manage their illness till it eventually kills them, but actually help them heal, is an honor and a privilege. And I am very much looking forward to working with those of you that I work with, and continuing my own journey toward better health, and growing this community, which is an amazing group of people. So thank you so much for your time and your attention. Please let me know on the network if you have any questions. Try to be on there fairly often to at least look and see what's going on. And hopefully I'll be meeting some of you very soon when I start doing consultations. So take care. Have a wonderful day. Bye.